This video is sponsored by Crossout. It has been a while since I did my last map tier list for this game, and a lot of things have changed in that time. Now, I will be ranking every map on this list twice. Once for how good I think they are when you are playing as a PMC, and the other for how good I think they are when you are playing as a scav. Starting us off is a modern classic, Lighthouse. Every other statement that I make in this video will be an opinion formulated from my own experiences. That being said, Lighthouse is objectively a dumpster fire. Tarkov has a divided player base. On the Tarkov Reddit and on the Tarkov Twitter, they tear each other apart like rabid jackals. One person will share their opinion on literally anything, and another person will come along and type out a 5-paragraph thesis as to why the first person has zero worth as a human being. Despite this fact, the player base almost unanimously agrees that Lighthouse is terrible and needs a massive rework. I'm not gonna go into too much detail as to why this map sucks, because that's a video I've already made twice, but to add a bit more of a positive spin on it, I will say that Lighthouse can be a great map. All it needs is better layout, better flow, better spawns, better points of interest, better terrain, better optimization, better loot, better quests, and better AI. Then it might be worth a damn. Or, at the bare minimum, a map that doesn't cause people to quit the game because literally anything is better than doing Lighthouse quests. Look, I'm not saying you can't like this map. I'm just saying that basically everyone else disagrees with you. But what about scav runs? Scav runs are okay on this map. Rogue loot is very hit or miss, but mostly misses. Their armor is okay, but their guns are destroyed, their attachments are average, and the ammo can, on occasion, penetrate a Pop-Tart. If you're doing scav runs for money on this map, I personally don't see the vision. However, the train yard behind the water treatment plant has tons of tool spawns. If you need wrenches, bolt cutters, tool sets, or other hideout items, that's definitely a good place to go. I went there and I found 5 KEK tapes almost immediately in one raid. It was fantastic. Even better, it's almost never contested. For the train yard, I am going to give Lighthouse a B tier for scavving. Now let's talk about Lighthouse, but with redeeming qualities. Shoreline. Shoreline definitely has some issues. The spawns on the eastern side are still abysmal and have been for the past, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. It sucks. But the rest of the map is fine. There can be interesting fights at the cottages, Smuggler's Base, or the weather station. But let's be honest, the main attraction is the resort. Resort is a very good place of PvP. In my opinion, it takes all the best aspects of Dorm's PvP and just applies it to a larger canvas. This means you can have those tight, close quarters fights, but there's enough breathing room that it doesn't feel congested and claustrophobic. Don't get me wrong, I love dorms, but the hallways are very narrow, which can make it hard to cover your teammates as they push without accidentally shooting them in the back. These fights are a lot of fun, so why does Shoreline kind of have a bad reputation? Well, I think that there are 2 big reasons for this. One, again, the spawns are atrocious, and if you die to that repeatedly, it's gonna piss you off very quickly. But the other big reason I think a lot of people hate Shoreline, and why I hated it in the past, is because of the absolute slog of quests that are on this map. At the beginning, Tarkov has quests that kind of put you all over the place. They can take you to a ton of different locations on a ton of different maps. And then you hit a certain point where it's just Shoreline, 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 Shoreline. And even those quests on Shoreline have you going back to the exact same place 85 times in a row. This can be repetitive, tedious, and worst of all, boring. If you want to enjoy this map, try not to rush the quests on it, otherwise you are going to burn yourself out very quickly. Again, the rest of the map is okay, but for the resort alone, I have to put this map in A tier. I really love resort fights. Scavving onto this map is solid. The village over by the tunnel tends to have some decent loot, and it's very rarely picked over because PMCs are all too busy rushing the resort. However, if you spawn on the wrong side of the map, you're doing a lot of running and you're just not in for a great time. So I'll give it a B tier for scav raids. I don't have much to say about Interchange other than it's really good. With the changes made to customs, this map has become my new go-to for PvP. The interior is closed off so people can't just sprint away whenever they want to, but it's open enough for rotates, flanks, and all other sorts of movement. The entire mall with all its shops and cover is a playground, but Goshen especially feels like a paintball arena. Unfortunately, nothing in this world is perfect, so the loot on this map is nothing special. Also, there are a lot of scavs on this map. The hordes of AI scavs can be really annoying, especially when they decide to rush you right after a fight. Thank you, game, for throwing 15 scavs at me as I'm trying to put my legs back on. I really appreciate it. I swear the AI knows when you are healing, and that's when it decides to push you. It happens far too often to be a funny little coinky dink. Also, player scavs. A lot of them. I don't know why. Again, the loot on this map isn't all that fantastic anymore. You can go to the food aisle, but it's no longer the monument of squash and herring, so you're not gonna pull that much from it, and it's already been picked over by 9 other scavs anyways, so I don't understand this fascination. For scavving, I'm gonna put this map in C. It's okay, but there are better options available. For PMC raids, where you are looking for a fight, it's S tier. It's a lot of fun, and a lot of the time, it just becomes silly. Almost as silly as strapping a 105mm howitzer to a minivan. Gee, what an oddly specific thing to say. Crossout is an online multiplayer vehicle shooter where you build your own vehicular monstrosity and drive it into the inferno of combat. The 10 different in-game factions are varied in both personality and styles of violence. For example, the militaristic Steppenwolves and the hot-headed lunatics. Gain the trust of these different factions to access unique parts and make your machine that much more of a menace. Once it's built, take your trusty ride through the story-rich PvE and PvP missions of this Mad Maxian wasteland. Best of all, it's easy to get into. An intuitive builder and parts-based matchmaking system means that your machine can be as simple or complex as you want. If you want to construct a Goliath capable of leveling a city, go for it. If you just want to strap a minigun on top of a tow truck, go for it. It's entirely up to you. Download Crossout for free on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox, and using my link below will get you a massive bonus pack including special parts and some unique paints. But hurry, this bonus is only available for a short time, and thank you to Crossout for sponsoring this video. Ground Zero is honestly a solid map layout. It's simplistic and condensed, which makes it excellent for new players to learn the game, while also enabling for some solid PvP. Or at least it would be if the PMC spawns weren't within 50 feet of each other. Why is it like this? If you take any time to think whatsoever, you are screwed. If you don't start immediately sprinting as soon as you spawn, then it won't just be thoughts going through your head. I don't think any changes need to be made to the map itself, but there are far too many players for a map of this size. Put 7 PMCs on it and reduce the maximum group size to 3. Or at least make it possible for me to walk 30 feet off of spawn without a bullet turning my gray matter into a modern art project. The map has potential, but good God, I do not know of a single soul who actually enjoys running this map at the beginning of the wipe. D tier. As for scavving, you either find a lot of high tier loot or literally nothing at all. C tier. Woods. I don't have too much to say here solely because it's woods. You either love it or you hate it. It's a bunch of trees and wide open terrain. If you want to snipe or just shoot people from long ranges, this is the map you come to. That's pretty much all it is. The one exception to this is the people who loot the scav village and then immediately take the car extract out because they need money. Yeah, it's woods. There's not much to the map. If you like the long-range game of cat and mouse, then you probably love this map, and if you don't like sniping and constantly repositioning and trying to find out where the enemy is, then you probably hate this map. Me personally, I like it quite a bit. I find it to be a more relaxing way to experience Tarkov. I'm gonna put it into A tier. When it comes to scavving, much like Shoreline, this map has a few areas of interest that are definitely worth looting. However, they are typically already picked over by PMCs, so I can't put it any higher than a B tier. I'm very conflicted about Factory. Before the rework, it was my favorite map for close-range PvP. It was Lambs for the casual broke man who didn't want to deal with John Tarkov with 12,000 hours, or Sir Haxalot, proprietor of the finest bullshit this side of the Mississippi. The biggest issue I have with the map itself is the lighting feels inconsistent. It feels like someone went into the settings and just maxed contrast. Dark areas are blacker than the Infinite Abyss, and light areas are blinding. The other issue I have with this map is this bastard right here. It is rare to run a factory and not encounter an Uzi Pro. Who would have thought that a cheap, accessible, high ergo, no recoil weapon that dumps 17 rounds a second would be a popular choice? Going against this thing constantly is tiring, but you can still have some fun on this map, and it remains one of the best options for quick PvP, so I'll give it a B tier. As for scavving, Factory is a great place to go to grab, a few miscellaneous loot items as well as level your scav rep. It's an S tier for scavving, in my opinion. Then there's labs. I'm not gonna say too much here, solely because the ranking very heavily depends on an X factor. Sure, the map has good loot, good PvP, a fun layout, it's great. Unfortunately, all of this good can be undone by cheaters. The map ranking very heavily depends on how bad the cheater situation is, so for that reason, I'm just gonna put it into B. My personal experience this wipe has not been good on this map. Of the 7 raids I have done, 5 of them had cheaters, so I wouldn't recommend it. Streets of Tarkov is a pretty interesting map from a design and gameplay standpoint, which is why it's unfortunate that the performance is so abysmal. When there is a setting dedicated specifically to making performance on this map slightly better, there's a problem. Seconds per frame aside, Streets of Tarkov is a map where your enjoyment very heavily depends on your knowledge and understanding of the map itself. If you don't know it super well and are just trying to get a quest done, then it can be frustrating. You are navigating an unintuitive maze where one wrong turn puts you on a street where 6 different buildings are all gonna light you up at once. If, however, you know the map well, then you are treated to one of the best blends of gameplay that Tarkov has to offer. Personally, I don't like how big the map is. I think it takes too long to run a raid, and having my FPS crater to 40 every time I aim down sights is just great. But I can't deny that this map is arguably one of the most interesting in the game. I'll give it a B tier for that. As for scavving, I don't scav on this map because, one, all of the high tier areas are probably already looted by players who know the map inside and out, and again, the map is just too big in my opinion. I prefer my scav raids to be short and sweet, so for scavving, I'm gonna give it a D tier. Then there's customs. I have a few words that I would like to say. First of all, the performance, not good. I am getting Streets frames on a map that isn't Streets. This is very annoying, but I have faith it will be ironed out. Eventually. Customs used to be one of the best maps in Escape from Tarkov for PvP. The best locations for dynamic mid-range fights were Fortress, Skeleton, Pocket Watch, and the oil containers between the two. It was a lot of fun. Then the new buildings got added, and those mid-range engagements were dragged out behind the shed and shot. Look, I'm not saying that those new buildings don't add anything of value, but there are far too many freaking windows for people to peek out of and murder anyone outside the building. Walking through the middle of the map at this point is just gambling, and sometimes it works out, but most of the time you get shot from a window with an illegal tint on it. The insides of the buildings are okay, but since I play solo most of the time, I find them borderline impossible to push if somebody is set up on the inside. If they want to keep the buildings, which obviously they're going to, I think they need to add a lot of boarded up windows so that the people inside don't have an absolute advantage. For now though, Customs is basically just a dorms map. Unless I have a quest that forces me to go to the middle, I will always route through dorms and then just leave. Going to the center is not worth it. What used to be my favorite map in the entire game is now a C tier, and it makes me sad. As for scavving, this is arguably the worst map in the game to scav on. All of the valuable items are either locked behind a door or are going to be picked over by other PMCs since they kind of just spawn right next to them, so I would not recommend it. F tier. And now Reserve. Reserve is my favorite map in the game from a layout standpoint. The different buildings all provide that close range PvP that I absolutely love in this game. Even better, they feel distinct and not all of them are just hallways like dorms or resort. That's what makes it really unfortunate that 90% of the PvP you are going to get on this map is in the D2 bunker. Don't get me wrong, the D2 bunker can be fun, but again, it just feels like those same hallway fights that you get on dorms or resort, but in my opinion, less enjoyable. If you don't spawn right next to the underground section, you are going to miss the initial fight, and pushing into it when a team already has control of it is very difficult, especially if you are solo. If you stay topside, you will be fighting an ocean of player scavs, which gets tiring. The map is fine to PMC on. It doesn't fill me with dread like certain other maps, but I miss the glory days of topside reserve. Rating as your PMC, I will give reserve a B tier. As for scavving, this is in my opinion the best map in the game to scav on. There's loose loot, technical crates, and filing cabinets everywhere, so even if one spot has been looted, there's still a lot of other options available. You don't find insane stuff other than the odd GPU, but you're able to fill your bag with 400,000 to 500,000 rubles worth of loot and be gone all in under 10 minutes. That is why this map is S tier for scavving, in my opinion. And that'll about do it. Once again, thank you to Crossout for sponsoring this video. Download Crossout for free on PC, PlayStation, or Xbox, and using the link below will get you a massive bonus pack, including 3 days of premium time and 3 unique vehicles. The special offer is only available for a short time, so be sure to check it out. If you are watching this right as it was uploaded, then I am currently live on Twitch, so be sure to drop by. I will also be live tomorrow, Monday the 27th, starting around 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I will also be live on Tuesday the 28th, starting around 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, so be sure to come say hi. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, especially all the way to the end, and I really hope you enjoyed.